We're all ready to go with JavaScript and jQuery within our web page. So we've got our script tags all ready to go, and now we want to create some interaction. So whenever we click this particular element, we want something to happen. And we can set this up within our jQuery. And within the jQuery code, so because we're using jQuery, we have to wait for the DOM to load, the document object model. So we can access jQuery code once it's ready and once it's loaded. So we do something where we've got this function, and then this is where we place our jQuery code within here. And this is different from JavaScript because with JavaScript, we don't need to necessarily wait for everything to load in order to provide JavaScript capability. But if we want to interact with our HTML elements, then we do need to make sure that everything is loaded and that it's ready to go. So with jQuery, which is why I'm using jQuery, because you don't really need to have a huge JavaScript understanding in order to get started with jQuery. And as we can see here, the concept is going to be similar to what we do with CSS, where we identify the particular element that we want to use. And the format is the same way that we were accessing the CSS. So if I've got an element that has an ID, I'm going to access it with the hash. And if I'm just accessing a class, I can access that with the period. So same way that we access the elements. And now we need to specify what type of interaction we have. So we use the $sign and the rounded brackets, and we conclude the quotes, and then we have the name or the ID of the element that we're trying to access. So all this is doing is this is specifying that element that we want to provide interaction to. And as we saw earlier, this type of capability is already built in. So click capability is built in and ready to go. And then within the click, we have an option. So JavaScript is a series of functions. Functions are blocks of code that get executed, but we can also do functions within other functions. So whenever that click is initiated, we're going to run our functions. So I don't want to go through and name and create a separate function for this. So I'm going to just create a function within here. So essentially, this is all we need to do in order to set up that has been clicked. And I'll just show you a really quick thing with JavaScript. So we can demonstrate that this actually gets triggered, and whenever we click this, so I got to refresh this, whenever we click it, we see that whatever code is within here gets run through. And this was just a simple alert message that we can trigger in JavaScript, and that's all that was. So what I want to do is I actually want to toggle this menu, and JavaScript has jQuery has a built-in function for that, and it's a really nice smooth functionality. So again, we identify the element that we want to apply the coding to, and we do slide. And that's another good thing about brackets is that it has jQuery content in here, so we have the ability to see what it's going to do. So slide down, display the matching elements with sliding motion. Slide up is going to be the opposite. And slide toggle is the in-between. So depending on what state it's at, it's going to take the opposite state. So let's take a look at that and refresh this. And we see that now we've got that menu capability. We can click and we've got that interaction ready to go within our web page. So in the next lesson, let's take a look at and start building out some additional functionality here. So some of them here, so we've got our pages here, so everything's working, but there's a few things here that are still missing. And one of them is the fact that this menu is not closing when we click it. And also, whenever we resize the page, we see that it is sort of working, but we want to make sure that whenever we're resizing that we're hiding the menu properly. So this, again, even though it's functioning now and it is working, everything looks good, there's some more stuff that we can add in with jQuery. And one of them as well with jQuery, it's got this really neat animate functionality, so that's also built in. So instead of going directly to the page, it does that kind of scrolling effect. And that's a really nice, neat effect that we can add in within our web page. So I'll show you how to do that in the upcoming lessons.